Hello, my friends. Welcome back. This is Jessica at I Read to Relax, and Miss Valentine's gonna make maybe an appearance back here. Oh, she's gonna. Oh, we're moving. Okay, we're moving. She decided she wanted to sit in the corner of the couch. All right. So, hi. How are you? Sorry for the interruption. Yes, she is my little baby. She gets what she wants. All right, I am here today to give you my October reading wrap up. October was a pretty good month. I read 10 books. 10 books. One of them I think you would maybe count as more of a novella, so like 9 and a novella. But overall, pretty good. There were some spectacular reads. There were some less than spectacular reads, but yeah. Let's just jump into it and I can tell you about what I read. I do have my handy dandy tracker here. I'm going to be looking down at that just to sort of remind me what I read. So if you see me looking down, that's why. But we can jump into, I actually have a lot of the books in print to show you. So that is great because some months it's more of an ebook, audiobook, whatever month, but I did a lot of physical this last month. So the first book was a book that crossed over from September to October, but technically I finished it in October, and that is House of Curses by K.A. Lindy. This is the third book in the Royal Houses series. This series got picked up by a publisher and is now being traditionally published, so the covers look a little bit different. A 5-book series, and I had read the first 2 books a couple years ago and really, really loved them, and bought book 3, and it's been sitting on my shelf unread for a very long time, so I decided to jump back into this, and I'm really glad I did because it is a very good series. This is book 3. I don't want to get into a lot of spoilers, but the basic story is that the main character, Kerrigan, first book, has been living sort of in the underground, seedy part of the city and like fighting and like underground dragon ring fights. But she gets an opportunity to basically become like a dragon rider. And so, of course, she's going to take it and starts this whole journey. She is half human, and that plays into a lot of things. So, again, I don't want to get into a lot of spoilers, but I love the main character in this series. I love the love interest in this series. And I think the world building is really good. The writing is just, it's like that easy kind of writing that you can dive into. Like, I read these really quickly, but like you get engrossed. They're just a fun time. So I recommend starting with book 1, which is House of Dragons. So I would start with that one, but yes, highly recommend. I listened to this audio book, which I'm going to put up here. It's Do Your Worst by Rosie Danan, and I really loved this audiobook. I thought it was really, really fun. It is a woman who is a curse breaker and a gentleman who is a archaeologist who's trying to essentially like get back his name, his reputation after it's been a little tarnished. They both end up together at this like crumbling Scottish ruin, and she's there to prove that there's a curse and she's gonna break it, and he's there to find, you know, historical artifacts. And so they have like different reasons for being there. They get into like almost a prank war. Like it was laugh out loud funny, but also sweet, and I really liked how the romance developed. That one was really fun as well. Then I read What the River Knows by Isabel Ibanez. And this one had been pitched as sort of a YA The Mummy meets Agatha Christie. And I 100% love that description for this. It really, really does feel like the movie The Mummy, but like with teens instead of adults. It was vivid. It was fun. I really liked the banter between the characters. I did guess one of the sort of like reveals, so that wasn't a surprise, but I did still enjoy it because I thought it was a really good twist. I did pick up the second book because I really want to read the second one, but the second one has some mixed reviews, so I'm a little nervous about that, but I really loved book one, What the River Knows, so yes, recommend that one as well. Then I read, I had a couple books that were vying for my favorite book of the month this past month, and a couple of them are going to be in like my top 10 books of the year, so like it was a solid month in that respect. The next one that I read, this is a physical copy, but I actually listened to the audiobook, Servant of Earth, by Sarah Hawley. This is the first book in the Shards of Magic series, and I loved it so much that I purchased myself a copy to put on my shelf because I will definitely reread this and the sequel and whatever books come next in the series. I'm officially obsessed with this series. So the main character in this book basically ends up trying to save her best friend. Her best friend is sent essentially as a sacrifice to the Fae. An unknowing sacrifice, but sacrifice nonetheless, and the main character goes with her to try and save them, like so that they can run away and escape, and ends up in the Fae realm. And they are my favorite kind of Fae, where they are beautiful but also brutal and dark and mischievous and never have the best interest of humans at heart. And so she now has to live as a servant in this Fae kingdom under a very, very cruel king. And I can't say any more without spoiling things, but I loved this. Loved it. So like I said, this was an audiobook that I listened to, and thankfully the sequel, Princess of Blood, had literally come out like, I don't know, a week before I finished the other audiobook. So I immediately bought this audiobook and listened to that one right afterwards. Loved this one even more than the first one. Like I said, fully obsessed with this series. Shards of Magic is going to be, yes, I will rave about this series for a while. I will recommend these to everyone. I will auto buy these. And so good. So yes, also listen to this audiobook. Also highly recommend. Then I read my actual, when I had to think about it, I had to think about it for a while, but this was my actual favorite book of the month, Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. I think it's McConaughey. It just barely won out over Princess of Blood, but it did. Wild Dark Shore was absolutely, utterly riveting. So this one is a sort of thriller mystery, more mystery, slightly thriller, but it's very, very atmospheric, and the chapters are short, and it is impossible to put down. I read this in 2 sittings. No, I lied. I read it in 3 because I like stretched it out to try and lengthen how long I got to enjoy it. I wanted to read it too. But this takes place on a remote island sort of off of Antarctica. And there's a family that are the lighthouse keepers on the island. So it's a father and his 3 kids. And it's also a research island. So there used to be a bunch of scientists that lived on the island as well. A bunch, like a handful. A handful of scientists that were studying the ocean and the aquatic life and the environment and, you know, erosion from weather and global warming. And it was also a seed repository. So there's a lot of environmental factors that take, like, environmental issues that take, like, become factors in the story. Spit it out, Jessica. Yes. So because it's this remote island, and because of global warming, it is slowly sinking. So there's like a time frame where they have to essentially evacuate the island. But as they're leading up to that, a body of a woman washes up on the shore. And this is all about what unfolds after she washes up. And it is just secret after secret after secret that builds into the story. And we delve into like past events that have happened with the father and the kids and the woman, and just the family dynamics, the dynamics with other people's relationships. It was, I was blown away by this book, and I looked up the author's backlist because this is the first book I've ever read by her. And it sounds like there's maybe 2 or 3 other books very similar in tone to this one. So I am absolutely going to be reading those and hoping they're as good in the future. So favorite book of the month, Wild Dark Shore. Okay. Then we have a couple that, no, I lied, not yet. I have another one that I really, really loved, and then a couple that were less great. So Charm by Tracy Wolff is book 5 in the Crave series. And this is a young adult paranormal fantasy series where our main character, Grace, ends up going to Katmere Academy, which is in like the remote wilderness of Alaska, because it has to be there with vampire students, etc. So again, you know, paranormal. She's not sure at first why she's there. Over time, there's revelations and things. But I had read the first 4 books in the series, absolutely loved them. I keep telling people this series is like candy. It's not spectacular for you. It's not the best written series ever. The plot's kind of a mess. But man, I gobble these up. It gives me like a sugar high when I read them. They're super fun. Super fun. And this particular book in the series takes place it's sort of like an interlude in the series. There is a period of time where Grace gets stuck. And like she's trapped somewhere, time is passing differently for her, and like you get reference to this lost time in the earlier books, but you don't know what happened. This book is the lost time. And not to give you a ton of spoilers, but Grace starts out the series with one love interest and ends up with a different love interest after the lost period of time. So this book gives you how that second love story developed, and it was just so good. It was so good. I love watching love develop, and it was just so cute. And again, because it's a YA romance, like it flirts with things, but it doesn't really get, yeah. And it was just, but oh, this one made me laugh. It made me cry a little bit. Like this was just a great, just a great candy book. It made me happy. It was just a fun read. After that, I read Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood. And this one, it's a very, very cozy witchy magic book. And the basic storyline is that in this world, witches are given their power at the age of 15. And they have 15 years to use their magic and prove that they should get to keep it. Our main character doesn't really know that that's how that works. So she got her power when she was 15, but because of her very, very introverted personality, she sort of got almost afraid of using her own power over time. And so she only really used her power for very, very small magics, things to make her house more cozy, things to, sort of enhance the bookshop where she works, which I loved the whole bookshop part of this for sure. But she turns 30 and has to go through this review process and basically fails. And so they give her one chance to go through these trials to prove that she should get to keep her magic. And that's what the base of the story is. So I really liked the overall premise, and I really liked the coziness of the bookshop. But I literally found myself slightly bored through almost the entirety of this book. And I just wanted it to be more, and I guess it was too low stakes for me. The very end of this book, the last few chapters, were great. And I really liked how it ended, but I don't think I'd pick up book 2 because I don't want to read almost an entire book to get to that feeling. So sadly, this just wasn't what I hoped it would be. It wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible. It just wasn't the book for me. But there are going to be other people out there that really, really love, again, that super low stakes, it's going to come out right in the end book. I just wanted more, sadly. The last audiobook that I listened to in October was actually really good as well. And it was my first horror book or novella by T. Kingfisher. So it was A House with Good Bones. And I listened to this one Halloween week, which was perfect. So it was only it was short, maybe 4 or 5 hour audiobook. So really quick, but this one, the main character is a woman in her early 30s. She's a little on the heavy side. She is an entomologist that works at archaeological digs to examine the bugs that are found to, provide historical context, like aging and whatever, based on the bug stuff. My very technical description. But anyway, when a body is found, human remains, in the dig that she's supposed to be working on, they close down the dig temporarily while they are dealing with, figuring out where the remains need to go. And so she temporarily moves back home with her mother because her apartment is being sublet. So her mother is one of those people who's very, very eclectic, and like every room in her house is painted a different color, and she just loves life and is very exuberant. And when the main character goes home, that is not what she finds. So her mother has lost a ton of weight and seems nervous all the time, and has painted the entire house back to almost pristine white, except for a room that is like a rose color now, and has taken down all of the decorations she had put up and restored the very, very old lady decorations that her mother had, because the main character's mother had inherited the house from her mother when she passed. So at one point, the main character and her mother and her brother had lived with the grandmother in this house when she was young. She was only like 10 when they lived with the grandmother. And then, like I said, when the grandmother died, the mom inherited and moved back into that house. And this is the first time that the granddaughter, the main character, has gone back. So over the course of a few days, more and more strange events happen, and her mother is extremely cagey and will not sort of talk about certain things. So she starts to realize something is very, very wrong. And again, I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but it is a fun, interesting, twisty sort of haunted house kind of story. It was very, very good for Halloween week. It was great. It did have, you know, because I know T. Kingfisher writes fantasy books and then sort of horror books, and it definitely had some creepy, gross horror elements, but not so much that I didn't enjoy it, because I find there can be a fine line there. And this one, when I would start to get like really grossed out, like we would sort of ease off of that again. So it was a really great balance. But I thought it was really fun. It was great because it was shorter and I didn't have to do like a lot of horror. And it unfolded in a fun way. So I'm definitely going to check out more, you know, like spooky season next year. I will check out T. Kingfisher's other horror books, because I like when I can find an author that sort of hits that it's horror and it's interesting, but it's not gross. So yeah. And then the very last book of the month, I read The Mortal Word by Genevieve Cogman. And this one is book 5, the Invisible Library series. And this was my Read It or Unhaul It book for the month. So obviously I read it. But I'm a little on the fence about whether or not it may just be time to unhaul this series. So let me back up a little bit. I read the first 4 books in the series and absolutely loved them, but it was years ago. Because I looked and like book 5 came out, I want to say in like 2018. Yeah, so this one came out in 2018 and I bought books 5, 6, 7, and 8, because there's 8 total in the series, as they each came out. I just didn't read them, obviously. So it's now 8 years since this came out, which means I read the first 4 at least 8 years ago. And like I said, I really, really loved them, which is why I bought the rest of the series. But when I read this one, it just didn't hold my attention quite as much. So the concept for this series is that our main character, Irene, is a librarian, a junior librarian in the Invisible Library. The Invisible Library is really cool. It exists sort of in a pocket universe between a bunch of other like worlds in this universe. And their purpose is to be a repository essentially for like super, super rare and dangerous books from all of these worlds. And like the greater universe is ruled, or I should say split, between the dragons and the fae. So worlds where the dragons are in charge are like very ordered. Everything is like, And then where the fae reign, it's like chaos. Because again, mischievous. They're causing a ruckus. And so the invisible library and the librarians basically try to keep everything from going too far one way or the other, to keep at least somewhat of a balance. And like I said, Irene is a junior librarian, and as the series progresses, she becomes close with a dragon prince who goes undercover at the library. She becomes friends and the apprentice, like the protege, essentially, of like One World's Sherlock Holmes. And so each of them basically is like a murder mystery with this like bookish fantasy twist. And there's dragons, there's fae. I devoured the first 4 books, and this one was good, but it just didn't suck me fully in. And I don't know if it was because so much time had passed, or if I just have sort of progressed from where I was as a reader when I picked these up originally. So in the next couple of months, I'm going to read book 6. And if I have the same sort of feeling, then I'm probably going to, I still think I'll probably finish the whole series, but I probably won't keep them in my personal library anymore. I'll end up donating them. But yeah, I mean, it was like a 3.5 star out of 5 for me. Well written for sure, just not as compelling as I wanted it to be. And I had really hoped I would dive back into that and it would be like, yes! And we just didn't get there. So, like I said, overall, October was good. There were a couple fantastic reads in there. A couple, but that happens. That's fine. I was really happy that I read, like I said, 9 full books and a novella. It's been a while since I felt like I had a really solid, thorough reading month again. So here's hoping November is also good, but we'll see. So have you read any of these? Did you feel the same way? Did you have a totally different experience than me? I'd love to hear what people think of the Crave series, because I know some people are just totally down on that series, but I just love them so much. And that's why I never like crap on what anybody else feels about reading, because it's so subjective. But yeah, I just wanted to share my October reads with you, and I hope that you had a stellar reading month as well. So, if you're still here, leave me a comment with your favorite book of the month or any comments you have about what I read. And I will see you guys next time.